I have spent hours, and I do mean hours, in a plane, train, automobile, listening to these headphones to determine which one is the best, because I think that's a really important conversation. These are expensive, but they're also amazing. Which one should you get? I am, of course, talking about the Bose QC35II versus the Sony WH-1000Xm3. They need to work on their naming convention a little bit. But the headphones themselves are stellar. Which one is best? Well, I'll tell you in a second. First, let's start with the case. The headphone cases are both great. I mean, they're headphone cases. What's inside is actually a little bit more important. I do like the material on the Sony a little bit better. It's got this sort of canvasy thing. Sorry about the schmudge here. That was a Bloody Mary accident on a plane. But again, what's inside them is a little bit more important than the cases themselves. So we'll pop this open, and right off the bat, I have my messy 3.5-inch headphone cable with a right angle adapter, which I like a lot. It's important to note that this is a 3.5 millimeter, like standard headphone jack, because it's pretty easy to replace if you get lost. There is an airline adapter in here as well. Not sure how valuable those are anymore. I mean, when I was on an international flight, I didn't even need it. But here's the most important part. USB-C charging cable. Why is it so short, Sony? Why? I don't understand that. But I am happy that it's USB-C for a number of reasons. Not the least of which is the quick charging capability, which we'll get into in a second when we talk about battery life. On the Bose side of things, let's see, I already have that unzipped. Sweet. So another fairly short, although longer than the Sony charging cable. This is micro USB, not USB-C. Bose does also allow a sort of a quick charge feature. Again, we'll get to that in a second. And then on their headphone cable, what we notice here is that it's a 2.5 millimeter on one side, so not quite as easy to replace. You don't want to lose this. Plus, this is the silver version with the gray cords, and it's hard to buy these aftermarket. There's a little pouch inside here, and you got a little bit of a pouch on the back too, which is awesome. I put my passport in there. Believe it or not, it's easier not to lose it because I'm tying two really important things together. Okay, so Bose QC35II, we've got the silver version here. There are several more colors available. I kind of like the way these look. I'm kind of over the whole black headphone thing. These are extremely comfortable. I mean, extremely comfortable. They've got very, very soft leatherette on the ear pads here. There's just the right amount of clamping force, a good amount of padding, very soft material here on the headband, which I love, and they're not gonna break easily. They're very resilient. On the bottom, you've got legit control buttons, right? So you can play, pause, fast forward, all that good business, and the buttons feel really good, like they're a good quality button. I see a lot of less expensive headphones, the buttons just feel like crap. And they're also harder to use when they're on your head that way. And then over here, this is what makes them the QC35II. They added a button specifically for the Google Assistant and Amazon Alexa. So if you put these on, you're connected to your phone, let's say it's an Android phone, and you press this button, it can automatically give you updates on the most important stuff. You can also ask it questions. You know what Google Assistant and Amazon Alexa are for. Bose just makes it really easy to access them. All right, compare that to the Sony. Sony only comes in two colors, black and silver, but they have a really nice matte finish to them, which I think looks really slick. And you'll notice that on the bottom, there's a conspicuous lack of buttons. You do have a power button, and you also have a noise canceling toggle. So you can either have noise canceling turned on, or you can turn it into ambient mode, which lets a little bit of sound come through. And you can actually control how much sound comes through using Sony's app, which we'll show you in a little bit. Anyway, the reason there's no buttons here, save these two, is because it's got touch controls on the right ear cup. So you can swipe forward, back, up, down, and this is one of my favorite features. You can actually cover the right ear cup while you're wearing them, and it will temporarily disable noise canceling, which it looks kind of silly when you're on the plane. You're like, oh yes, I would like a Coke, and I'll have some of those crackers as well. But you can cover it and talk to people, and you can hear what they're saying without having to take the headphones off or hit that ambient noise button and hope that that's enough. Did you get that? Yeah. Woo! Headphones can hurt, folks. As far as comfort goes, the Sony wins in my book. It has the right amount of clamping force, enough padding on the top. I've worn these for 6-7 hours straight. Never felt any fatigue beyond any other headphone I would ever experience. I mean, you know, eventually you're gonna feel it a little bit on the crown of your head, but they have a different look than the previous version, which some people may not like right off the bat, but it's functional. It really makes them comfortable for long wearing sessions, which obviously super important when you're talking about long flights, right? The Bose, also super comfortable. We talked about the materials they have. They exert about the same amount of clamping force. They are, I think, 0.8 grams lighter than the Sony, which is not really noticeable. So say what you will about that, but also very, very comfortable. And I'll tell you, for both of these headphones, when you put them on, it's already gotten really quiet. They both give a really great seal. So the passive noise isolation, we call it, is great with both of these headphones. All right, so let's talk about battery life for a second. I already mentioned that you can quick charge them. The Bose will give you about 2.5 hours, more or less, from about a 10-minute charge using the micro USB charging port. The Sony, though, will give you almost 5 hours continuous. That's with noise canceling on, with just a 15-minute charge. Thank you, USB-C. That is stellar. 15 minutes, like you can charge for 15 minutes and make a flight from LA to New York, no problem. There's a difference in total battery life as well, a bigger one, in fact. So the Bose will give you about 22 hours. They claim 20, but they actually outperform their spec off of a full charge, whereas the Sony are gonna give you 30 hours total, and they charge faster as well. 30 hours is outstanding. I've gone an entire week without charging these things. I mean, obviously, if you're doing a lot of flying, you'll want to charge in between your flights, but that's outstanding. I love it. I love never having to charge these things. Also, in terms of reporting the battery charge, both headphones tell you how much juice they've got when you turn them on. You can also find out by looking at your phone or checking with the app for both of these headphones. So let's take a look at the apps. You've got Bose Connect for the Bose, Sony Headphone Connect, although it just says headphones here. And I gotta tell you right now, you don't have to use these apps. You can connect via Bluetooth, no problem, without ever using the app. But there are some fun features here that I want to look at. If you do connect through the app, this is how it looks for the Bose. You want to turn the headphones on, load up the app, you swipe to connect. It doesn't take a particularly long time to get them connected. And once you do connect them, this will be what the headphones look for every time you turn them on. It's going to look for this device first. Now you can connect it to multiple devices, but you know the default will be whatever it is you connect first. So here you can name the headphones. I'm actually going to say, surprise me and see what it comes up with. Thunder Flash works for me. I would never actually name my headphones Thunder Flash, by the way. So it's going to talk a little bit about some of the custom controls, take you through a little tutorial here, and it's going to take a little while. But once you're done, you're going to understand how to use the headphones a lot easier. This is also where you set up Google Assistant, Amazon Alexa, that kind of thing. No, I'm not using Bixby Voice, ever. So we'll always use Google. So let's look at some of the options here. We'll press here and you can see that we've got the name Thunder Flash. I'm still amused by that. We also have an option here to set the action button. So if we don't want it to be Google Assistant, as it is now, we can have it alter the noise cancellation. And when I say alter the noise cancellation, we can actually choose to have high, low, or off entirely. So you don't have to set the action button to do that. You can do it through the app if you want, but if you don't really ever want to touch the app, and really this is kind of the only reason, then you can set up the action button to work that way. The Sony app is a little bit more functional. There's some more goodies in it. So the first nifty little trick that these headphones pull off is adaptive sound control. And the idea here is that it can detect your environment and adjust the noise canceling and the sound curve of the headphones depending on where you are. So if you're walking out in the street, if you're in a plane, maybe you're in an office environment, just listening to music, it's an interesting little feature and I enjoy using it. Then we can go to the dashboard here and take a look at what's available. So it's currently working on detecting our environment. It'll set it towards the office setting, probably just because it hears me talk. It doesn't hear a whole lot of whooshing noise like you would in a plane. We can actually go in and control that ourselves if we want to. We can adjust the amount of ambient sound that is coming through the headphones. So if you're the sort that wants to be able to hear that bus honking at you before it mows you down, that's a really, really great feature. So we can also allow it to focus on voice. I think we saw that actually in the last screen. So let's pop back in there. Yeah, you can turn this focus on voice feature on to make it easier to converse with people when you're using the headphones in an office environment. All right, so let's pop back out of that. You can also do personal optimizing for the sound and the noise canceling. And there's an atmospheric pressure optimizing that it does automatically, but you can adjust it. So if you've ever been in an airplane and you turn on the headphones and it feels like you've got this weird pressure thing going on, you can actually address that issue. And then there's a sound position control here, which allows you to sort of create the sense that something is way out in front of you, or you know, off to your left or behind. It's not exactly surround sound, but it is an interesting feature that lets you sort of tailor the sound the way you want it to be. The Bose definitely edge out the Sony by the tiniest little margin in terms of noise canceling. But guess what? That's not meaningful, because when you start playing music through them, there's virtually no difference whatsoever. In the office, really no difference between the two either. There's just the slightest reduction in white noise. It's barely perceptible. So I don't really think you should be making a decision about which to get based on their noise canceling prowess alone. However, if you talk on your headphones quite a bit, you use the built-in mic to make phone calls or dictate or whatever, the Bose are going to do better in noisy and windy situations, because the noise canceling that they employ on the mic pickup is a little bit better than the Sony's. Actually, you know what? It's considerably better than the Sony's. The Sony's struggle with windy situations. I mean, don't get me wrong, you can use the Sony's for talking on the phone, no problem. It's just that in really dicey, windy situations, they don't perform quite as well as the Bose. So if you're a business type and you do a lot of talking on your headphones, you might want to go for the Bose, just for that reason. When it comes to sound quality though, the winner by a huge margin, the Sony's. They're just a more musical headphone, and you don't have to be an audiophile to hear that. They have a richer sound to them. They're fuller bodied in the mid-range. They've got a smoother treble. The bass is lovely. It's punchy, it's deep, and with the noise canceling going on in combination of that, it's just maintained. So whether you've got noise canceling on or off, whether you're wired or connected wirelessly, they sound fantastic across the board. That might lead you to think that the Bose don't sound good, so I want to correct any notion there. They sound great. I was very, very happy with the Bose until the Sony came along. It's just that the Sonys are a little bit better in that regard. So if sound quality is a main fixture for you, then I go Sony. So ultimately, who wins the battle between the Sony Mark IIIs and the QC35II from Bose? It's Sony. I got to give it to the Sony. There was never really any question. From the time I started using them, I realized that they were the ultimate noise canceling wireless headphone for me. I do a lot of travel, right? So it's really important for me to be thoroughly satisfied with what I'm using, because I mean, these are entertainment. They're also part of my work. And yeah, it's really going to come down to the fact that they have a better overall sound quality. I do like that I can swipe up and down and side to side to adjust tracks and volumes. I think that's a lot of fun. I love the bit where I can cup the side of these and talk to people without necessarily taking them off, even though I feel like a dork when I do it. It's super, super handy. There are some drawbacks though. One is that you cannot connect these to two devices at the same time like you can with the Bose. And that might be a deal breaker for you, because if you want to be connected to your phone and your laptop at the same time, which I know a lot of people like to do, that's just not possible. So that may be a deal breaker for you, and I totally understand. And if it is a deal breaker, and like I said before, if you use them for phone calls a lot, then the Bose are perfectly great. They're gonna make you happy. These things cost about the same amount of money right now. They're both super comfortable. They both sound very good. Noise canceling is excellent. It's really a personal preference, and it comes down to your individual needs. But if you just need somebody to tell you, buy this, I'm telling you, buy the Sonys. You'll be extremely happy you got them. You guys, thanks for watching. We can't do this without you. We really appreciate your support. And if you like this video, hit the like button. If you disliked it, thumbs down, that's okay, I can take it. More importantly though, comment. We want to hear from you. What did you like? What did you dislike? And what would you like to see more of? And if you do want to see more, ring that little bell, because we'll pop right up in your YouTube feed. While you're here, 2 videos that we think you'll like. And as always, visit digitaltrends.com for the latest in tech news and reviews.